and welcome back to another episode of the Italy Travel Podcast. I'm Darcy Melton.
And I'm Nathaniel Maldor.
And today we're talking about Ischia.
We are indeed, and I'm very, very excited to share it all with you all.
Yeah, me too. I could only be more excited if we were actually in Ischia right now.
That would definitely put it up to 11.
Yeah, but I'm at a 10, a level 10 of excitement. But before we get into it, as always, we want to thank all of you for following the podcast, for leaving reviews, for contacting us. If you'd like to follow and leave a review, you can do so on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you listen to podcasts. You can go check out our Patreon, where we have a chat that you can join for free. You can also find lots of articles written by us, myself, and Nathaniel on onlyabag.com. And that is it.
Thank you all so much for listening.
Thanks for listening.
So Ischia.
Yes. So we recently visited Ischia for the first time, a couple of weeks ago now?
Mid-May. So just outside, if we want to think in terms of travel seasons, just on the very cusp of coming into summer. Well, not quite, but because I think things open back up in April. Mm-hmm. So, but a month after that, essentially, a month after things were opening, it was still the early energy, if you will, of a summer town come alive.
Yeah, exactly. And it was okay. So, shall we get into vibes and how much kind of we enjoyed the place?
Yeah, okay. I like vibes. Vibes is a great way to start the last few. Do I want to go first? Oh, okay. I can go first. I mean, okay. It's a tough ask, but I'm willing to try.
You go first.
It was. So I guess on a first level, and we talked about this in the Capri episode last week. It's actually one of the reasons we wanted to put these side by side in hindsight, because when I mentioned for Capri, and I'm already, this isn't about the vibes of Ischia, I know, but it helps to give a comparison in mind if you didn't hear the Capri episode, that there's an underlying current of sort of momentum and anxiety
in Capri.
Yeah. And it was, you get off the ferry and you're like, ooh. And I think on one hand, it's really good because it makes you kind of want to go see things.
Yeah.
There's a sense of I really want to see everything. I want to go explore. I want to get out there. I can't believe we're here. And then you step off the boat in Ischia and it's just this wave of calm. It's just ooh. Yeah, it's like a warm pool kind of thing.
Yeah, which is fitting for Ischia.
Which is very fitting for Ischia, given all their thermal pools. But it's just a very different, I mean, for being literally in the same Gulf, for being in the same region of Italy, for being, in eyesight distance of Capri, it is a totally different energy. It's far more relaxed. And that's just the initial, we got off the ferry expecting it to be okay, it's going to be madness. And it was we all got off the ferry and then you kind of step into the port and you're like, oh yeah, okay. This is just chill. And that I will say that continued. We were only there for 2 or 3 nights, I think.
2 nights, I think.
2 nights. So a very short stay. But that feeling of relaxation was essentially the sort of the bedrock of Ischia is what it felt like. This sort of way that everything was built on relaxing. I mean, even to the point that things were closed in the afternoon, which felt surprising given the fact that it is a tourist town. So we thought oh, but you wouldn't be closed. But it did. 1:30 shut down. Everything opened back up at 4:30, and all of a sudden, everything comes alive again. People walking around, eating gelato. It was also, and I think I wanted to put this in the vibes, I guess, area. It ran exactly against everything we've been telling y'all, the listeners, about when it comes to the beach behavior, if you will, or beach town behavior. Sorrento, for example, is, we've talked about this before, is on the water and not really a beach town by sort of design. They have a beach in town, but I think their history is more fishing village and then a vacation area for Napolitano who will go to the beach from there, but to a different beach. So the idea of walking around in your bathing suit in Sorrento is very much frowned upon, to the point that I believe it's fine worthy if you walk around topless.
Yeah, you can be fined if you're only wearing a bathing suit, essentially.
Exactly. So it's that, I think, I'm using that as a comparison, because then in Ischia, it was really surprising to see a lot of Italians, not just Italians who were young, because we talked about this in Positano as well, that a lot of Italians under the age of 20 clearly came from Naples for the day and were swimming around Positano and then walking around in the bathing suit throughout Positano, because it was oh, that's what, that's what we can do, I guess, because everybody else is doing it, you know. This had more of the sort of people came to Ischia to retire and then put a bathing suit on and never took it off kind of energy. Like these sort of, oh, that is formal wear for you. I think beach bum is a sort of is a really good way of describing it. Like coming from a beach in the States that are essentially, it's a beach bum town, Tybee Island. Shout out if you've ever been. It's essentially just a place to retire to, and it's just a very relaxing. You put on a bathing suit and you never take it off, and that's kind of what Ischia felt like. But at the same time, it was almost sort of rubbing up against a very formerly fine vacation island, if that makes sense. Fine in the same sense, like a little bit upscale, like, but in the 60s potentially.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, there's that sense that like, oh, this had, I mean, and not like things were dilapidated necessarily. It's just that was the style. Like a lot of things had this very specific, almost 60s country club style.
Yes.
You know, and never quite changed away from it because that's what I think the clientele wanted. So I say all this. So my vibe was like really relaxed, very much, you know, we're going to spend all day at the beach and then we're going to get dressed because there's a piano bar down the street and we're going to just, I don't know, sip something and listen to the piano bar or the piano man. So Billy Joel, I don't know. Sort of fun little word association there for y'all. Not actually Billy Joel, though, to be very clear. Don't go to Ischia for Billy Joel. He's not there, I don't think. But
Billy Joel, if you're listening and you want to come to Ischia with us, let us know.
We're happy to join you. We're also, I'm from Long Island as well. I think he is as well. So,
cool.
Hey, there we go. We have something in common. We can talk about that. So that would be my vibe. It was really relaxed, really lovely. And there was that way of like in the evening, people were dressing up to go out to dinner, to go out to these club, like I say clubs, not clubbing, club like literally.
Yeah, like a beach club, like a country club.
Exactly.
I mean, like it's not a country club, but that is more the vibe, the aesthetic,
exactly,
the clientele, rather than clubbing.
Yes, and I think so. That was my initial vibe of like totally different world from Sorrento, Positano, Capri. It was very much a. I've not really explored that much of like Posillipo or it's like Chiaia. We've talked about that. The neighborhood in Naples. It's a more upscale neighborhood. It's a former historically a wealthier neighborhood. Slightly bigger apartments, more trees, more boutique shopping. It's kind of where people in Chiaia probably went as a vacation, but 60 years ago is kind of what it feels like. It has that sort of, oh, we live on the water, we live in a beautiful spot, and then we go into vacation in a place that is similar. So all that being said, that is my vibe. What is yours?
Okay, so a little bit like the way I talked about the vibes for me in our Capri episode. What are words? Nathaniel did his bit, and now I'm talking about my thing.
It's been 7 minutes. You're like, I don't even know how to talk anymore.
I've lost
I've just
it
been
all.
monologued to for the last...
Okay, so like I said in our Capri episode, I kind of want to break it down between the different parts of our arrival, at least, and then sort of our trip, because the vibes were different, a little bit different throughout.
Sure. Okay.
Only because I love that there are ferries that are accessible for us to be able to get to different islands. However, they do stress me out a little bit. This one wasn't terribly stressful. It's just a lot of people in a somewhat small area, and then you have to disembark, and it's a little bit ever so slightly chaotic. Really, it wasn't that bad. But that was a little bit different from so we were pulling our luggage along, and then when we finally got, which is beach bum vibes, it really is. If you visited Tybee Island, it looks like a beach, if you've seen a beach bummy kind of place, beach bummy mixed with like Palm Beach. It's got that 1960s,
yeah.
like you were saying, kind of like it hit its heyday in the 60s, but I love where it is now, you know?
Yes.
So we get to the hotel, and then I took a big deep breath and relaxed because it was beautiful. And so in addition to that, it does feel so relaxed. Everybody's really nice and chill. I mean, I don't even know really how to explain it.
If I may, like we've talked about this before. I think sometimes when you go to a touristy town in Italy, there is sometimes, I don't know if it's antagonism, but there is a level of like, you're bothering me by talking to me, so go through, get through whatever you need to ask me as quickly as humanly possible.
Yes.
And not always. I want to be very clear. Obviously, it's just sometimes that is people's like experience, and it's a totally not abnormal experience. Basically, sometimes you get people who are very excited to help you, and sometimes you get people who are like, could you ask literally any other human being
Yes.
on earth instead of me? So I think that was very much, at least not my experience on Ischia, where
No.
nobody felt like I was
Like
bothering
taking up
them,
their
you're
time.
taking up their time. Exactly.
And I think a lot of people, so of course, there were lots of Italians who were vacationing when we were vacationing. And part of that is timing. Just it happened to be the time of year when some Italians are taking some vacation. But also, I think a lot of Italians tend to go to Ischia, maybe rather than other places, because it is more relaxed, because it is a little bit less expensive compared to Capri or other islands around. There are spas there and thermal baths. And it was really nice to be around other tourists who were just hanging out, relaxing. I don't think anybody was in a rush. We were all just there being relaxed. And all of the people, like the tourist facing jobs, people that we were interacting with were all, of course, super nice and really relaxed. And it was also the beginning of the season. So they haven't hit the crazy chaos yet that might be coming later, perhaps in August. But it was really just so calming. And I kind of didn't necessarily expect that because Capri is often kind of buzzing. And I did expect Ischia to be a little bit like Naples, which is energy.
Yes,
You know,
100%.
just high electricity sort of feeling in the air, where Ischia is not.
I feel like if Naples is like kind of touching a live wire, you know,
Yeah.
Ischia was touching a grounded wire. I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know the other example there.
The other thing is that I didn't really have major expectations of what Ischia would look like necessarily. I mean, I've seen photos, but in terms of just the shopping and the hotels, and we only ate at one restaurant while we were there, other than
We ate at the hotel. Yeah.
I think I maybe expected it to be a little bit more refined. And it's not a bad
Yeah,
thing that it
no,
wasn't.
exactly.
I absolutely love everything about Ischia, to be honest. But it does, if you've been to Naples, it very much looks a bit like Naples.
It's so actually on that note, if I may, you mentioned it's not like Naples in terms of energy, but it almost feels like a scaled down coastal version of Naples, which sounds like a wild thing to say because Naples is on the coast, but honestly, it doesn't feel like a coastal town or a coastal city. I mean,
It feels like a city that also has a port.
exactly. And I think that might be, I mean, with any other, I can't think of any other city off the top of my head, New York City kind of thing, but like Miami on the water feels like it's on the water. You know, I've been told, I haven't actually been to Miami, but that's the vibe I get. But Naples on the water, there's no sense that you're actually, there's not like a, you know, oh, we're going to go down to the beach today kind of thing, or
Right.
we're living the,
There's maybe like the little sort of where you can take a walk along the water on the
yeah.
very much built up man-made board. It's not a boardwalk, but stone walk. But it's not, oh, let's hop into the water. Let's go to the beach. That's not really
Exactly.
available in Naples. Where in Ischia,
That is very much-
yes.
But it's
that's
also then
absolutely what you do.
scaled down in that sense that there's a lot of the same I don't know, just that the restaurants are very similar, or the sort of shopping is quite similar to certain parts of Naples. And I think you mentioned shopping. If I may, kind of transition if you're done with the vibes, I was going to use that as a jumping off. I mean, please though, feel free to go back.
I guess one quick thing, like I said with the Naples thing, is that it's, if you're going to Ischia, so we were in Ischia Porto, Ischia proper, the town on the island of Ischia. And I just want to sort of set expectations for everybody. It is wonderful and I love it. And I highly recommend you visit Ischia if you're looking for a relaxed, somewhat spa vibe. But I just want to emphasize that it's not highly refined. It's
Yes.
you can find fancy luxury, but not every bit of it is like Capri. Capri has a sense that they know that people coming expect a certain level of luxury. They expect the cracks to be filled in, things like that. Where Ischia is a little rough around the edges, but in such a beautiful way.
Yeah, no, and I think so that actually that does bring me to what I was thinking is in my experience, people often ask, like, should I go to a place like Ischia instead of Positano or Capri or Sorrento? And I say that because I know that on the peninsula, right, Positano, Amalfi, and Sorrento are often viewed as these, like, which of the three should I go to if I have to go to one? Usually Sorrento wins out mainly because it's easier to get to and out of.
Yes.
You're not as trapped, and you can easily take a day trip out there. I mean, to Positano if you wanted to, or something like that, or even to Capri. Whereas Positano, a little bit more difficult to get to. Same thing with Amalfi. It's a little bit more difficult to get to. So there creates this sensation that like, oh, these three places, Capri, Positano, Amalfi, are very similar. Yeah, and Sorrento, I guess, these four places are very similar. And they are. We've talked about it before. They have this very similar type of tourism. They have a very similar type of restaurants. They have a very similar type of things around. They all do understand that people are there for tourism, so they are sort of maybe not. Like, there's levels of curation, I would say. Amalfi being at the bottom, and then Positano and Sorrento kind of being in the middle, and Capri being at the top. Capri is very beautifully curated, very well, like just again as you mentioned, filled in the cracks. There's no mildew and mold growing up the stone walls. It was just very like, wow, there's a lot of care and attention put into this place. I wouldn't say that Ischia is an alternative to any of those, personally.
No.
I would say you're going to have a different experience for sure, and if you are looking for, basically, if you want to go to Capri, you should absolutely go to Capri. I don't think you should go to anywhere else, like Ischia specifically, instead of Capri or instead of Positano. However, if you are there and you're thinking 5 days, let's say, is a lot for Sorrento, and it is, that's a long time to spend around the Sorrento area or on the peninsula, that's when I would say Ischia is a great alternative, because it would show you two sides. It would show you the sort of world tourism, like, the sort of who comes to Capri, who comes to Sorrento, who comes to Positano, and then Ischia, which is predominantly Italians. You mentioned the spa, and we're going to talk about that in a minute, but partly because it's actually something you can get a prescription for from your doctor. So you do have a lot of Italians going to the spa in Ischia because they have a prescription for it. So I think I wanted to mention this kind of with your expectations in setting them, is that it is definitely not, in my opinion, the alternative, unless you've already been to Capri and Sorrento and things like that before, and you're coming back to this region for another trip. If you're like, I loved Campania, I love the Naples Gulf, I really like Naples, I want to go back, I want to spend another couple of days, that's when I'd recommend Ischia. We've talked about this before too, with like Venice versus other places. If it's your first trip to Italy, Venice is you should put that on the list if you can. There's no other Venice. There's no other Rome. There's no other Florence. But, and the same thing with Capri. There really is no other Capri. But on your second trip, for sure, or on a trip that you're wanting to kind of get off the beaten path a little bit, for sure, I would recommend Ischia.
Yeah, and when you're not, it's not a replacement for anything.
Exactly.
It's a whole other place and a whole other experience.
And you mentioned rough around the edges, just for those of you who might have marked, I had a little worry about that. I don't think you meant that in a dangerous sense.
Oh, no, not at all. Just aesthetically.
It's a little dilapidated, I would say. It's just in the sense that there are some places that are, again, we talked about this sort of country club aesthetic. There's like a main strip that has a really well done aesthetic. And then kind of off that a little bit, it does start to sort of like, not everybody has the same sort of income, obviously, or it's like an apartment building that isn't that nice next to an apartment building that is nice, kind of thing. So it's that sensation where you're like, oh yeah, people just live here, which for me was the other big benefit, was that it felt like people actually lived in Ischia.
Yes. Which
we've talked about in Capri. It did blow our minds that people do live in Capri. But when we were there, it was nice that it felt so many people actually felt like they inhabited the place. And I don't know, it felt like everybody was a bit of a local, rather than it being everybody was sort of, oh, I live in Naples, I just have a job out here, which felt a little bit more like the energy in Capri, where at the end of the day, you could see a lot of people leaving like in their,
work gear,
exactly, to get the ferries. So in my opinion, that was one of the reasons I really liked it, is it kind of did feel like you were in a place that was inhabited. It felt inhabited. It kind of filled, like the edges were filled out type of thing. And it didn't feel like we were intruding, where sometimes there are sometimes like places in Italy where, I mean, especially because articles will make it feel like this, like people and Instagram pages and things like that will say like, there's too many people going to this place, which is totally valid. And that was not the feeling in Ischia at all. It wasn't, at least in, May 20th or whatever it was, May 22nd.
Of 2026.
Yes.
Just to be clear.
In case you hear this in the future or in the past. So that was my sort of, warning, if you will, not even warning, but that it is not the same. Don't go into Ischia expecting Capri.
Right.
Go into Ischia expecting a beach town, a little beach bum, a little run down, but it had once a heyday, and clearly there's still a lot of money there to keep up a lot of buildings. So there's not a sense of like, even the shopping, it was definitely a step down from Capri, but only because like everything outside of Milan and Rome would be a step down from Capri.
A step down in what sense?
Oh, in sort of high name brands.
Yes,
Big name
I
brands.
agree with that. So Ischia, in at least Ischia where we were in the town, there were not, Chanel, Versace, things like that. But I was kind of surprised because jewelry seems to be
Huge,
a big, there are a lot of jewelry shops in Ischia, and you can get really high quality jewelry. There was one shop that was, the woman running it was so elegant. But it was antique, like properly luxury, antique, expensive jewelry. And so we went and window shopped there, of course, wandered around the little shop. But then there are lots of other shops that have very high quality jewelry, but they're relatively affordable compared to what you might find in Capri. So I think you can find really high quality goods in Ischia that are more affordable, but certainly not name brand, Chanel, stuff like that.
And we talked about this with sandals because Capri is famous for its sandals. There are tons of sandal makers also in Ischia, and the prices there ran a third of the price. I mean, I think you mentioned in the Capri episode, you purchased a pair of sandals that were custom made for 65 euros, and the average price in Capri was closer to about 200, 210, going up from there, depending how like intricate or I think they have the crystals you can put on the things, stuff like that. So that, and actually, if I may, just talking about cost very briefly, that was a big thing that was, for me, mind-blowing. Just I expected Sorrento, Capri, Positano prices in Ischia in the sense of food specifically. I really expected like, okay, when we go out to eat for lunch or whatever it is, because you did book the dinner at the hotel, I'm like, we're spending $20 a plate of pasta. That's fine. That's in line. It was like $9 a plate of pasta at most places. The ice cream. Oh my God, they're gonna take away my Italian card. The gelato,
Your Italian card.
that's my favorite. It's got such a good picture on it too. The gelato was way more in line with Naples prices, $2.53 at the most for a double scoop, unlike $5 in Sorrento. I honestly did not check the prices in Capri. I was a little too afraid. But in Sorrento, it was $5 for a double scoop. Double scoop being like a scoop of 2 different flavors.
And that's standard.
And that is standard. So it was like the prices were way more in line with like, oh, this is maybe 10, 15, 20% more expensive than Naples, but still so much cheaper than what I would have expected from anywhere else on the coast. Not to mention then, as you get into things like the spas, the day rate for spas were completely reasonable in that 30 euro range for the day, which is kind of what you would pay for a what do they call
like
it?
A beach chair, an umbrella.
Chair. Thank you. If you were going to go to the beach instead. But in Ischia. But again, we talked about Positano. A lot of them are 50 per chair, not 50 for 2 chairs.
Also, if I can pop it in here, a tip is that if you are staying at a hotel in Ischia, they might have a deal with a Lido. They might own a Lido. That's a beach club, essentially. They might have a deal with one that they don't own. So you might get a discount on your beach chair and umbrella situation if you go through your hotel.
100%. And that's actually a great tip for anything. A lot of the hotels we found in Ischia were either on thermal springs or had thermal spas involved in the hotel. So when we were talking about spas, they are not necessarily another location. They are in the hotel itself.
Yeah, they are all of that. There are other locations. There are free ones. There are ones at your hotel. We'll get more into that in the next episode. But yes, a lot of hotels do have or are on top of a thermal spring and have that involved in their hotel.
Which also kind of going to this idea of, we talk about this sometimes resorts, and how there's not really that feel in Italy where you don't necessarily, there's not really a type of hotel where you don't leave except for maybe the Amalfi Coast or parts of Positano and Capri where it is this all-inclusive kind of place where you have a pool, you have a sea. But in Ischia, I felt like... And Sicily.
Sicily has a lot.
And I felt like that with Ischia. It was very similar. It was probably... Well, obviously you can go out and have dinner and explore, but it was like, wow, after we'd gone, we did research on more hotels because, again, we kind of wanted to go in a little bit blind as if we were just, tourists, which we are, and kind of go in with this sort of like, how are other people going to see this? How do we see this? And then afterwards, we looked at hotels, and tons of them have spas, have pools, have restaurants attached, or like, you get the half board option, which gives you restaurant and, dinner and breakfast. So there was an idea that like, yeah, I can see how people would have come here or still come here, and you can spend all day just at the hotel. I mean, even the one we went to had like free books, and it had a bar, at least one bar, and it had like these little just
They
different
had like
things.
not like a game room, but like a little salon where you could play like
Yes.
card games and stuff, a bar, cute little outdoor area. Like you said, there were books all in the lobby. It was beautiful. Can we talk about the vibe of the thermal spa area of our hotel?
Yeah, I'd honestly be happy to.
Okay, I'm going to go first.
Yes.
So I was expecting young people in like just I was expecting to be a little intimidated. Okay.
By young people.
By young, classically attractive, confident people.
Sure. To be fair, that is literally the advertising this hotel
Yes.
used.
Yes.
And we thought, oh no, we're going to the below deck hotel.
But I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm excited to be in a spa. I'm going to be in my bathing suit in front of other people. I'm going to be confident. It's going to be great. What I experienced was amazing. It was people who did not care what other people thought. Many of the people there were over 80 years old.
Yes.
Certainly a
easily.
lot of them were over 50. No one cared what anybody else was wearing. Everybody was just relaxing. There was some nice little chit chat, like conversation. We met a lovely lady who is a teacher. We had great chat with her in the sauna. It was just so relaxing and wonderful. And yeah, like you said, you can get a prescription to go there. So I think a lot of the people that were there got a prescription from their doctor for their health to
Yeah.
come to the spa. And I just kind of want to hang out with people over 80, like
Well, it was
in our
also,
bathing suits.
and on that, I think part of it was like a very unintimidating.
Yes.
I think because even when you entered the spa, the way it was almost like a public pool sort of feeling.
Mm-hmm.
It was it was not what I would consider the most attractive looking spa in the world, in the sense it was tiled and, it was cute. It had some very cute things in it, but it was like not, I don't know what a spa looks like though, to be fair. So, I've only seen spas in TV shows, I think.
That's true.
So
Never
I
been
was
to a
thinking
spa.
like, soothing music, and there's a ficus in the corner, and there's like, I don't know, it smells like lavender. This was like, the jets are roaring in one of the hot tubs. It's just very steamy. It's tiled everywhere. Everyone's in flip-flops or not. Most of the men are in Speedos. And I'm like, oh, my bathing suit's too long to be in here. So I think, but it was also very unintimidating in the sense that there was not a lot of, well, obviously judgment or palpable judgment.
Right.
No one's staring. Everyone's just sort of, as you mentioned, relaxing. And then even out in the pool, again, there were definitely a lot of people. Young. There were some younger people around the pool.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, nobody was in the pool, which was wild to me. I was like, y'all, it is 90 something degrees. We should be in this pool. This is crazy. But it was still kind of a non-judgmental. And
Right.
I'd say that because I think sometimes at like pools or public pools or pools that are attached to hotels, it kind of feels like everyone's looking at each other to be like, there's a little, I don't know. It's not competition. It's just more
Right.
curiosity, I think. So it's easy to feel like, oh my God, everyone's staring at me when you walk out, onto a pool area, because it's because they always put it where it's like, everyone's staring at the spot where everyone walks out.
Right.
But it was really, really pleasantly relaxing. And then even at dinner, we noticed that we were very much, there was maybe 5 people under the age of 60 in there, which was amazing because it was fascinating. It was just the decor was a little old school, and that sort of 60s like pink tile, pink tablecloths. It was a kind of a buffet type situation for the antipasta, which I've never seen before. I've never seen a buffet in Italy, I should say. There was a gelatinous thing.
There was the sense at the restaurant hotel that they had not changed certain parts of the menu since the 60s, since people really were coming here, and that the same clientele have been coming here every summer since then. So there were other, there's broccoli, there's carrots, I don't know, random regular vegetable things, tons of vegetables, tons of classic Italian vegetables too.
Strange, like pizza, the focaccia pizza, I guess, for like, if those of you who just wanted that as a starter.
And there were some like younger kids there.
Yes.
So I think that makes sense for younger kids. But like Nathaniel's saying, there was also prepare yourself, it's going to sound gross. It was like a gelatinous mayonnaise and chopped vegetable, like peas and
Loaf.
carrots
Yeah.
loaf. straight out of a 1950s cookbook.
Beautiful.
But some of the clientele were certainly
It
eating
was every night. I mean,
Yeah.
all 2
It was
nights,
a
it was at
staple.
least half to 2/3 eaten.
We did not partake of that.
We definitely did not. But it was also even the one part of that though was that the serving staff was kind of incredible.
Yeah. Oh my
Not
gosh,
kind of
they really
incredible,
were.
but like actually incredible. It was very professional, very elegant, very much serving from the right, taking from the left, showing the bottle. I mean, we ordered a bottle of wine because we are like, okay, yeah, everyone else is doing it, we should too. And very much, the showing the label, having a little sip. Is that okay? Do you want something else? Like, as I suggested this, so I can get you a different one. Everything was very polished feeling, which was
There's
not what
a high level of service.
there's
Yes.
a very high level of service, which is not what I was expecting going down there. I think into the thing, because we'd also just come from one where the service was great, but not like, mind blowing. We'd come from a hotel with a restaurant that was like, it was good. It was like great for Italy, but then this was like a whole step up. The attentiveness was interesting because again, we've talked about this countless times, but attentive wait staff is not really a thing in Italy. If you need something, you usually have to let them know.
Even though a lot of people who are wait staff have gone to school, like above high school level school for learning how to be a person who works at a restaurant.
Exactly. And it was a fascinating thing. And then some of the, so just for those of you who are kind of curious, it was just even when you bought the wine or bought the water, he was letting us know that this is yours for like your duration of your stay. So, we'll put your room number on it. And then every night, this is your table and this is your bottle of wine. So you don't feel the need to have it all in one night, like, which is a lot of other places are kind of, you can't keep the same bottle for multiple nights, which kind of felt nice because it felt less pressure to like, do we want to spend, I mean, it's not even that expensive. It's $20 a bottle, but then it's like, do we want each one half a bottle of wine tonight? Well, not really. I've had a bit of...
Especially when you should be hydrating if you've been in the hot tub. Or
Like I
things
spent
like
all
that.
day in a sauna. I think a glass of wine is going to just send me to the moon. So maybe not. But this is all simply to say, at least on my end, that it was not at all what I expected going into it, which again, I had very non-expectations, but it was still somehow not what I expected.
Yes.
And then it blew me away. And just to know that a place like that exists still, I think is part of it, because so many places on the beach in Italy do feel less relaxing and more like someone is always trying to sell you something. At least in more heavily touristy spots, I will say this is not like the case for middle of nowhere in Calabria or middle of nowhere even in Campania. This is a little bit more just around this sort of Gulf of Naples area, Amalfi Coast, where everything feels commodified. In this case, it felt a lot more relaxed, a lot more just go with the flow. And even with the English, as a last note, I did want to mention that we've talked about this before, English on menus, English on this, English on that. It was fascinating that there was very little English on anything, which I thought was interesting. So which made me think that maybe they really do not get a lot of people who don't speak Italian, because Italian was the predominant language on menus, signage, just things that you would...
There were no English subtitles for the most part.
Exactly. And that were translations.
Yes, that's the one.
No, but that made me kind of interesting. And beyond that, we noticed that people were excited to try their English.
Yes, so that's a really good note. Because we were visiting Ischia just after we had visited Sorrento and Capri and these other places, I was used to, obviously, we are used to speaking Italian with people, but it felt to me like in Sorrento specifically, people were a little relieved whenever we were speaking in Italian, thinking like, oh, thank goodness, at least I can just speak in my native language for one customer and then swap back into English. But I was surprised that a lot of people were excited to speak English with us in Ischia. And it was very distinctly not, oh, I speak better. Like, your Italian's not very good. I'm just going to go ahead and speak English because my English is better. It was not that at all. It was people being excited that they were able to speak in this language that they like to practice. So it was just a fun speaking English. Does that make sense?
It does. And I think even at one point, I think you were buying a necklace or something, you were buying like gifts, little jewelry gifts, and you had to interrupt the shopkeeper. He was chatting with somebody outside and you had like, I'm so sorry. Like, just whenever you have a second, can I get this thing from the case? And he was like, oh my God, of course. Yeah, we're just like, chatting, shooting the breeze. And then it was the person he was talking with. She just was like out for the day. And so in English, though, she's like, oh, don't worry about interrupting us. Like, we're just, I think.
Didn't she say like, oh, he's just my brother?
Yeah,
Like,
it was something like that. And I thought that was great because it was, again, it's not that like she was in the service industry, so it makes sense she speaks English. She was just like, yeah, I never get the chance to speak English. This is cool. And I felt like a lot of people had that energy of I learned this. I never get to use it. And now, oh my God, I get to use it. This is so nice. Which is also to say, for those of you who are a little worried about, like, I do not speak Italian at all, I did notice that a fair number of people in key positions, in the sense of like the person checking you in, speaks
Right.
English for sure. We heard at least a couple of them speaking English with other
Absolutely.
guests. The person at the bar, the person at the bar in the hotel, the wait staff predominantly spoke, not predominantly, but they had enough English to communicate with anybody who was like German, for
Yes.
example, who did not speak Italian. And then some of the shopkeepers also spoke English to varying degrees. Likewise, when we went out to eat at the one restaurant, they also had English. So this is all to say, it is not like you're never going to see English. It was just more interesting, the difference of where we talked about in Sorrento, how people defaulted to English mainly because if you default to Italian, you're going to waste time with the person saying, I don't speak, okay, fine, I'll go back. Rather than just assume everybody coming to your counter speaks English and just using English as a default. This was more, oh my God, you speak English? That's crazy. Hold up. How are you? It was that kind of the fun thing of like, I have a couple phrases, let me try them out. And I love that too, because I think as an American, I often feel very self-conscious when I try to speak another language, because I'm often thinking I'm making a disaster of this.
Right.
And I've found that usually with Italians, especially younger Italians, there's not that. There's just pure excitement to try, like, hold up, I have 5 phrases and that's it, but I'm gonna use them all on you right now. Are you ready?
I didn't even mention the lovely lady that I met at the ferry before we
Yes.
even got to Ischia. There was a woman who happened to sit next to me as we were waiting to board the ferry, and turns out she lives in Naples, part-time in Forio, which is a town on the island of Ischia. And she proposed to me. She's like, okay, you speak Italian and I'll speak in English and we'll have a fun conversation and we can both practice. It was great.
Worked really well.
It did.
Sounded
It
like.
was, yeah. So everybody was just, I don't mean to sound surprised that everybody was so nice. Most people in general are nice.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
but I think everybody was I just felt so at ease is the thing. And everybody was so excited in a relaxed way.
Yes. And I think, and as a last note for myself, and then I'll let you all go. I mean, you can just hit the pause button now, but I feel like a teacher. I don't know. Is that sort of, that is how Ischia is very similar to what we are accustomed to around where we live.
Yeah.
We talked about actually in one episode, like as an alternative to Positano, you can go way off the beaten path and try the beaches in Scario, which is a small town in the Cilento coast. There's a number of towns on the Cilento coast, but that is one with really lovely beaches. And that was how it felt. A lot more relaxed, a little bit nice. Like they clearly put some energy into it, but not like off the main strip. Basically, it's like they didn't have enough money as a town to like, do what Capri does kind of thing, or even Sorrento does, and make the entire thing beautiful. It's like, no, but who's going 9 blocks off the main strip? That's ridiculous. We're gonna keep it to the main strip and then 1 block over. But there was that kind of thing where it's relaxing. It's not that unaffordable. It just feels kind of like here where we live, but on the water, just relaxed, and there's not really expectations
And also a step back in time in a
Yes.
way.
And
So much of it
yes.
felt like a step back in time, which I absolutely loved.
Yes. I always like it, especially here, where when you're able to step back and kind of see, like, this must be how things were, and they just never changed it because there are people who did not want it to change, or who are trying to bring, like, I mean, because you and I like that and would hope it never changes, even though we're not of the generation that originally went there.
Right.
So it's kind of something that, like, I really hope not everything becomes this sort of fancy new modern restaurant. Like, I'm like, some of them, like, I like the pink, man. I love the pink tablecloths and the tiles and the whole thing. I
Right.
love the whole thing. Like, I would never want it to change, because it's cool that some places are still like that. And that kind of almost somehow breaks that barrier to feeling like, I don't know, like you're not, they've seen everybody before on a certain level. So you're not, it's like no one's staring at you because
Right.
you're just yet another face.
I think a lot of my experience in the 2 days we were there, 2.5 days, was that I felt very relaxed I did not feel like anybody was staring at me. There was no shame involved in any of it. Not that traveling always does, but I think as a tourist, sometimes
100%.
you can feel like there are more eyes on you than there are, perhaps. But it was very relaxed and very accessible financially as well. Where we stayed was really, really affordable. The shopping was really affordable. So it just felt, I just was at ease.
Yes.
You know?
No, so I think that all to say is that if you are considering coming down to the Campania, Naples area, and you were looking for somewhere to stay on the coast, or if you're looking for a coast, I wouldn't necessarily as a day trip. I will say it's a little bit far for a day trip. I mean, not far. It's a bigger island and it's more spread out. It is totally doable as a day trip from Naples, and we'll talk about how to get there in the next episode. We've talked about it before, but we'll refresh y'all on how to get there in the next episode on Friday. But I would not necessarily recommend it as a day trip, but only because it is kind of affordable. I mean, fairly affordable to stay there. The only thing I'd recommend is, depending on when you stay there, there are nightly minimums.
Right. Good point.
Typically around August, there's like a 4 or 5 night minimum, just because everybody wants to go in August, so they don't want to do this massive changeover all the time. But outside of August, it's usually if there's a night minimum at all, it's usually 2 nights. But I would recommend spending the night, just because it does kind of feel, you get the energy a little bit more.
Yes,
and
I
it's
agree.
not as frequent ferries from like to and back from Naples as like Capri, for example.
Yes.
So with all that said, thank you all so much for listening to this episode.
Thanks for listening. Next episode, we are going to talk about getting there, some of the things to do in Ischia.
I cannot wait.
Tanti abbracci.